Welcome back to Editing 101 Part 2. In this we are going to cover opening a pre-existing project as well as managing things in the timeline, how the timeline is used, and then several techniques used for trimming and cutting clips. So let's go ahead and start. Right down here to our Start menu as before and open up Adobe Premiere Elements. When we started last time, we opted to select New Project. But now, as we are going to be editing an existing project, we will come here to Open Project. And as we can see, here is our PPT ADV. Click on that, and it is going to open up the project. Opening a project as opposed to opening a new project generally takes a little bit more time, so you got to be patient. Okay. So now we are in the editor, and just a quick review from last time. Here we have our preview window. This is our main preview window, our bin, and our timeline. Okay, now let's focus on the timeline. If we look down here, we have several different areas which are called tracks. We can see here's the video 1 track, here's the audio 1 track, a narration track, and a soundtrack. And if we look over on the right, we notice we have a bar, and if we scroll up, we can see that we actually have a video 3 track, an audio 3 track, audio 2, video 2, and so on. So, at least to start, we have 3 video, 3 audio, and 2 dedicated audio-only tracks. Good way to understand this is I kind of think of it like a sandwich, and you have layers of bread, vegetables, meat and cheese all kind of stacked together. And the whole point is you want to make the best tasting sandwich. Now, when you bite into a sandwich, you taste from the top down. So the same is true in an editor. What I mean by that is if I have, let's just throw a clip in here. So I'm going to put my cursor, choose a clip, in this case number 5, put my cursor on the thumbnail and drag it into the timeline. And as you can see, it gives me some audio and some video now in the timeline. And this is in video track 1 and audio track 1. The video and audio tracks 1, 2, and 3 are linked. And what I mean by that is that the video and the audio stay together. So if I were to grab this video and move it, you can see that the audio has moved with it. This keeps everything from falling out of sync. That is to say that if someone's speaking, their mouth is kind of flapping and the words don't line up. So all the audio tracks, all the audio and video tracks 1, 2, and 3 will do this. So we're going to drag it right back to the start here so we can see it. So now, I'm going to scroll up a touch. So now, as you can see, we have video and video 1, audio and audio 1, and nothing in video 2 and audio 2. So let's click play and see what happens.
Alright, now that you're acquainted with the buttons on the PowerPoint advancer.
Okay, so we just played through the video, we heard a little bit of sound, and all is good. If I take a second clip, let's go take 4 here, and drag it into the timeline, but this time I'm going to put it in video 2. And we'll put it kind of right about here. No, I don't want to apply a solid background color. So now, if I were to click play, take a close look at the timeline down here, and watch what happens. As soon as it approaches this video 2 area, it is encountering a new bit of the sandwich, as we call it. And what is going to happen is that the sound and video from video 2 is going to overlap and supersede video 1. What I mean by that is that the sound will be louder and the video will be the only thing that's present. You won't see any video from video 1. So let's watch.
You're ready to start your presentation. Now on this model you have 2 extra buttons on the bottom. You have this button on the left.
So we can see what's happened here. Video 2 has now superseded video 1, but both audios are still coming through, which kind of creates a rather garbled effect.
Which is denoted by a little play symbol, which what we have right here is the newer model of the PowerPoint.
The reason I point this out initially is because oftentimes, especially when you're new to editing, you will add several clips and accidentally add one to one of the layers above it. You'll then play your clip and wonder why, say, a picture or a sound or even a bit of video is overlapping what you originally wanted to see, in which case you're going to have to go look into your layers and figure out what's what. just remember the topmost layer, that is video 3 would be the topmost, video 2 the next, and video 1 is the last, is the one that you're going to see. So in this case, I don't want the video in video 2. So I'm going to select it and click the delete key, and away it goes. Now we are back to just video 1, one layer in our video editing sandwich. So let's go ahead and delete this as well from our timeline, highlight it, and hit delete, and away it goes. A few more options in the timeline here, just so you can get familiar with it. Let's talk about stretching out the timeline. So again, I'm going to come up here to video 5, drag it into the timeline, and put it in video 1 so that we can see it. So as we can see, up top we have time. So here's the very start, 00000, all the way out to 1 minute, 4 seconds, and 2 frames is where this one is located right here. So what we are looking at is approximately, if we come all the way out to the end of the timeline here, 8 minutes worth of video. Well, I'm going to be dealing with a 1 minute section, so I don't need to see this remaining 7 minutes. So I'll come up here just above this 8 minute area to this slider. What this slider does is zooms in on the timeline. So I'm going to grab it and slide it out. A little too much there. Dial it back. There we are. That's better. So what I've done is I've zoomed into the timeline, so now instead of it being an 8 minute section across the length, it is now just shy of 2 minutes across the length, which gives me a much better finite control of what I'm trying to do in the timeline. And then going to delete this clip, and we are going to start editing. So I'm actually going to shrink the timeline back up so I can see a large bit of it. And the first thing I want to do is I want to add what I call the Bryant roll-in. It's just a little graphic we made that we like to throw at the beginning of our presentations when it's available. So I haven't added it into this bin yet. So the first thing I need to do is just go ahead and do like we did in part 1, come to Get Media, Files and Folders, because I know it's on my computer, and go find it. I believe I have it right on my desktop. There it is, Bryant roll-in. Let's click Open. And there it is. We now have the Bryant roll-in added. So anytime you want to add a picture, another piece of video, or anything after the fact when you've started, it's just that easy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the Bryant icon and drag it into the timeline under video 1 and bring it right up to the beginning. So now we can see we got this black and gold little gradient here. If I press play, we get a little bit of lens flare playing in here, and then the Bryant logo rolls right out just like so. So now is when we come to the point of choosing the style in which you wish to edit. There's essentially 2 schools of thought when it comes to editing. There's what's called timeline editing, where all the editing takes place down here in the timeline. It's where you do all your cuts and all your adjustments. And then there's what's called 3-point editing. And the 3 points in 3-point editing are the start point, the end point, and then the point in the timeline you want to add the clip. I'm a proprietor of the 3-point editing, but whatever fits best for you is the technique you should use. So let's start by doing a simple timeline edit of this clip here. So this clip is about 30 seconds long. If I come up here, look at media duration, I know it's 30 seconds. So let's say that I only want it to be about 12 seconds long. Well, this item right here, the player head, I'll slide it back to the beginning so that I can see right here in the time code, I'm at the very beginning of the clip. I'm at 00000. I'm then going to grab the player head and drag it, looking at this time, out to about 12 seconds. Oops, 15, style it back a touch. There we go, 12 seconds and 18 frames. So now this is where I want the division to happen. I don't need from here over. So what I'm going to do is make sure that my player head is lined up correctly. Then I'm going to come up here into the preview window and click Split Clip. If we now reference back down into the timeline, you can see that I have 2 clips. Each I'm now able to select independently of the other. I'm going to select the area I don't want and press the delete key. Now, in my timeline, I have just trimmed this clip to be 12 seconds long. Let's watch it. Excellent. Always preview your clips to make sure that they look exactly the way you want them to before moving on to the next step.